So yesterday, what did we do? We stopped over here where Arjuna was not very sure. He was very confused. He was bewildered. He was thinking what has to be done. He was looking around, looking at all the armies all around him. He saw his friends were there, relatives were there. His mind started reeling. He started thinking, what will be the cost of this devastation? His mind was filled with grief. Now he sits down, he puts down his bow aside, and he is looking at Krishna. So let's see what we will be doing in this section. Section B, summary. So Arjuna has doubts, right? So what are his doubts? He says how this battle is going to finish, the whole family, traditions, and he is also seeing the sinful reactions, that if he kills the family members, what kind of sin he will get. And then he feels that it's better just to remain unarmed than to fight. And his mind is completely overwhelmed with grief. And he's putting down his bow and sitting on his chariot. Arjuna uvacha drishtvevam swajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupasthitam sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishushyati. Anyone volunteers here to read? Hare Krishna. Anyone wants
Yes,
to?
Mataji, I can.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying off.
So Arjuna Vacha. So Arjuna is saying, what is he saying? Drishtvevam swajanam Krishna. On seeing my own people around Krishna, yuyutsam samupastitam, they have all gathered over here to fight, right? Sidanti mana, they are all in that fighting spirit. Sidanti mama gatrani. Sidanti means what? They are quivering. What is quivering? Mama, my. Gatrani, my limbs, everything is quivering. And mukham, my mouth is parishushyati, it's completely dried up. Now, Lord Krishna, words, he said, right, look, those are all kurus. So that word is moving around in his mind. And he's looking at the armies on both the sides and he's thinking, oh my God, all my relatives are all here. Kuru, his relatives. Krishna just said one word, look, Kurus, and then that got him he realized that, you know, the warriors on the battlefield, they were ready to shed blood. And they were, who were they? They were just relatives, friends, his family, his well-wishers. There were so many people around. Everybody will be killed. Like, you know, it's a battlefield. There will be somebody or the other will be killed. So he's really, really worried. He was completely remorse and he was fearful of performing his duty. He was a Kshatriya. It was his duty to fight. So why was this happening? This happens because of attachment. If you have attachment towards anything, it will cause fear or disappointment. These two happens. If you are having, if you are scared of something and if you are having disappointment, remember, you are attached to it. That's the lesson we learn. So he is completely forgetful of his spiritual existence, that he is not just the body. He has forgotten that. His affection for his bodily relatives had completely blinded his consciousness. So that is why he is saying, my limbs are quivering, my mouth is dried. These symptoms, you know, they are not, they were not due to weakness also, but it was because he was a very pure devotee, right? He was very soft-hearted. So that's the characteristic of a pure devotee. Vepatushcha sharire me romaharshascha jayate gandivam samsrate hastatyacheva paridhayate. Vepatushcha sharire me, his body is trembling, the sharira is trembling. Romaharshascha jayate, the hair is standing on the hand, on the arm. Gandivam, his bow name is Gandivam. Samsrates hastat, it's slipping from the hand. Tyakcheva paridhayate, my skin. Tyakcheva means, you know, twacha we say in Hindi, right? So that is tyakcheva, that is twacha, that is skin. Paridhayate, it's burning. My skin is burning. All these are, you know. So let's see the translation. Sorry, I forgot the translation. Yes.
Krishna Mataji, my whole body is trembling My hair is standing on end. My blouse Gandhi is slipping from my hands, and my skin is burning. Hare Krishna.
You have to speak a little louder, okay? It's not, we're not able to hear you properly.
Okay,
Yes,
Mataji.
Nikash, yeah. He was
I'm
unable to hold his Gandiva also because actually it could emit sounds that Gandiva bow itself was so strong. The moment he will pull it, the enemies will be like petrified. They will be scared. But Arjuna has become so disillusioned, so superstitious right now. Everything superstition is gripping him. He could only see bad omens all around. He's thinking, oh my God, what kind of devastation is going to happen? So he feels it's a sin to engage in such a battle. So what are the symptoms we see due to his soft-heartedness and compassionate nature? Nikash Prabhuji, you can read.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Defense system of Arjuna body due to his softness, compassion nature. Number one, the limbs of his body quivering. Number two, his mouth drying off. Number three, his whole body is trembling. Number four, his ear is standing on end. Number five, his bows Gandhi is slipping from. Number six, his skin is burning. Number seven, he was unable to stand them any. Number seven, he was forgetting himself. Number nine, his mind was reeling. Number 10, he sees only causes of misfortune.
You can see all the parts of the body. You can see limbs quivering, mouth drying up, whole body trembling, hair standing on end, hands, the Gandiva bow is slipping, skin is burning, legs unable to stand, mind is reeling. The moment he is there on the battlefield, you can see how he is feeling. So what did we understand from the verse 28, 20 and 29? In verse 28, you can see the Arjuna's symptoms, right? Just now we read limbs of his body quivering and mouth drying up. What was the reason for it? Because sympathy and compassion. He was overwhelmed by kindness, foreseeing their imminent death, symptoms not due to weakness, but due to his soft-heartedness. We have to be very clear about it. It was not that he was not courageous, but it was because he was so compassionate. He was very soft, because that's the characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. So he was astonished to see their fighting spirit, how they have come to fight and they will lay down their lives. What will happen to them? Genuine devotees of the Lord has godly qualities. Non-devotees lack such qualities. He is worried about everyone. Then in verse number 25, what did we read? Further symptoms we saw. What are those? His body was trembling, his hair was standing on end, his bow was slipping, skin was burning, right? So all this can happen due to spiritual ecstasy also, and out of great fear and material condition. He was attached to his affection. He was having a lot of attachment towards them. So he had fear due to loss of life. His bow was slipping, heart burning. These are material conception of life, right? Because when you are attached to something, that's when it causes fear. But this was not his weakness. We have to understand that. He was a very courageous, he was a great warrior. But because he was very soft-hearted and he was attached to them, he was feeling very compassionate towards them. Na cha shaknomyavasthatum brahmativa cha me manaha nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Mataji. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. My mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of case of Kesi demon.
Keshi demon. Nacha shaknomi vasthatum. Nacha shaknomi. I am not able to vasthatum stand here. Brahmativa me manaha. My mind is reeling. It's moving around. I can't think straight. What is happening to him is forgetting everything. I'm forgetting. My mind is reeling. Nimittani cha pashyami. Whatever I'm seeing the opposite. Viparitani Keshava. Now Keshava is using the word Keshava because Krishna killed Keshi demon. And here Arjuna is expecting Krishna to kill his doubts that he is having. So that is why he has particularly used the word Keshava, right? He has addressed why? Because he's thinking that, the thought of killing his own relatives, it is troubling him so much so that his body is trembling. He's so soft-hearted, such a great devotee, right, Arjuna? But due to his impatience, he's unable to stay on the battlefield, and he's forgetting, and because of the weakness of his mind weakness, not that he's not courageous. So what do we learn from here? Here we learn excessive attachment for material things or for anything. It will put a man in such a bewildering position, right? It's such a bewildering condition of Arjuna. So such fearfulness or lack of a mental balance or mental equilibrium, what happens? It takes place in person who are too affected by material conditions. You can see for yourself, whenever you are having this kind of position or situation, something happens in your body. So it's similarly, Arjuna is also, he envisioned only painful reverses in the battlefield. He's seeing viparitani, everything opposite happening. He would not be very happy even if he gained victory right now. He says, I'm not nimittani viparitani is very significant word over here, because when a man sees only frustrations in his expectations, he's thinking, why am I here? What am I doing? This victory will only cause more grief in me. So I don't know what am I doing over here. He's not able to think properly. So in verse 30, what did we see? Causes of misfortune, right? It was his weakness of mind. He's forgetting himself. These are the symptoms, right? Arjuna's symptoms. And then he sees only misfortune. He will not be even happy even after winning, he says. So because excessive material attachment, he's attached to all his relatives, friends, well-wishers, whoever is there. So he says, my God, if they all die, what will happen? What will I do with this kingdom? Well, how will I enjoy? Right? So he's losing his mental equilibrium also out of fear. Nimittani viparitani means he is seeing only misfortune. So he feels that he will not be happy even after winning. So he's frustrated. He's thinking, why am I here? So what we should actually do is, we should do everything for the sake of Krishna or Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? But generally, what do? We are so self interest we have in ourselves, and we think about only our welfare, our family, our welfare, my child, my husband. What will happen? You will suffer. You will not have mental equilibrium. You won't be equipoised. And Krishna has been called Keshava because he's the killer of Keshi demon, and Arjuna is expecting him to remove Arjuna's demon-like doubts. His doubts are like demons, such big doubts. So he's expecting Krishna to remove it. Nacha shreyo nupashyami hatva swajanamahave nakankshe vijayam Krishna nacha rajyam sukhani cha.
Translation: I do not see how any good can come from killing on my kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, dear any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nacha shreyo nupashyami. What shreya? Shreya means good. Pashyami means see. What good will I see? Hatva swajana mahave, by killing my own kinsmen, my own relatives. Na kankshe vijayam. I don't desire any vijay, any victory, Krishna. Nacha rajyam sukhani. I don't even want to enjoy any kingdom right now. He is so overwhelmed by all this. He says, I just don't want anything right now. So without knowing, right, that one's self-interest is not in our welfare. It is what we can do for Krishna or for Supreme Personality of Godhead. We, all conditioned souls, we are attracted by our own bodily relationships, and we think that we'll be very happy in such situations. Everything causes misery only, but we understand it little later. So in this kind of blind conception of life, what happens is we forget that we are the causes of this material unhappiness. We shouldn't be doing it, but we are still attached to it. So Arjuna appears to have forgotten that what he's a kshatriya, that is his role to play, but he has forgotten, seems like, and he's reluctant. He just doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to kill his enemies. Forget about let alone his relatives. He doesn't want to do anything. He's just standing there. He is putting his bow down. No, I'm not fighting now. He thinks that by killing them, there would be no happiness in his life. He's not willing to fight, right? Just as a person who is not hungry is not willing to cook. He's saying, I'm not inclined to cook now. I'm not hungry. I will not cook. So he has decided, he says, I'll go to the forest. I'll go to a secluded place and I will just go away from here. He's so frustrated. But as a Kshatriya, what is his duty? He's supposed to fight. And for he, as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom, right? For his well-being, to live over there, for his substance, he has to take care of the other people in the kingdom. And Kshatriyas, what do they have to do? They can't engage in any other occupation as such. They have, that is the role they have to play. They have no other role to play. And right now, does Arjuna have any kingdom? He says, na kankshe vijayam Krishna nacha rajyam sukhani cha. He doesn't have any rajyam. So what will he rule? He is a Kshatriya. So he has a sole opportunity to fight, get a kingdom. And, because the cousins and all these people, the Duryodhan, they just took away everything and they're not ready to even share a pin with them. So it is his duty right now to gain the kingdom back so that he can reclaim and he can inherit whatever his father had, right? Pandu was the king, but he doesn't want to do that. He thinks he is fit to go to the forest and just live a secluded life. Out of frustration, he's thinking. So we can see Arjuna cannot enjoy kingdom at the cost of killing relatives. So if Arjuna is a Kshatriya, right? So what he has forgotten, what is his duty? But if Kshatriya dies in the battlefield under Krishna's order, or there are other person who can do that, is renounced order, life devoted to Krishna, means who is a sannyasi. If a sannyasi dies or a Kshatriya dies in the battlefield, they are eligible to enter the sun planet. But Arjuna has forgotten. He is attracted to bodily relationships. He thinks that he will be very happy that way. Similar to us, right? We are also so much attracted and so much attached to our relationships. So he thinks that killing relatives, he will have no happiness in life. He is not willing to fight. And he has decided to lead a secluded life. Kim no rajena govinda, kim bhogai jivitena va, yesha marte kankshitam naha, rajyam bhoga sukhani cha, te me vasthita yuddhe, pranan tyaktva dhanani cha, acharya pitarah putraha, tathaiva cha pitamaha, matula shvashura pautraha, shala sambandhinastatha, etan nahantumichhami, natopi madhusudana, apitrailokya rajyasya, eto kim namahi krite, nihatya dhartarashtraannaha, kapritisya janardana.
Krishna Mataji. Translation. O Govinda, of what evil to us are of kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield. O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfather, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, mothers-in-laws, laws and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties are on standing before me. Why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the 43 oaths. Let's alone this oath. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Krishna.
So he says, Kim no rajena Govinda, Kim bhogete jivte. What will I do with this kingdom, Govinda? What will I enjoy? Bhoge jivite nava means, bhog means enjoy. What enjoyment will I do? Will I have living in that kingdom also? Yesham, for whom? Kangshitannaha, for whom should I desire this Rajyam? Bhoga Sukharicha, what will I enjoy? What happiness will I get out of it? Te me vastitat, I am here, situated here. Pranans tektva dhananicha, means I am giving up all the riches, everything. I can see who is in front of me. Acharya is there, my teacher, my Pitra, Putra, Tathaiva, Pitamaha, everybody, grandfather, so many people are over there, right in front of me. My maternal uncles are right in front of, all my relatives are there, right? He says, Etan, all these, Etan hantum ichchami. I don't want to kill these people. I do not wish to kill. Hantu means kill. Natopi Madhusudana. Please, Madhusudana, oh, killer of Madhu, demon Madhu, right? So he says, you give me apitre lokya rajase, give me 3 worlds also. I don't want. He says very clearly, I'm not prepared to fight with them, even in the exchange of 3 worlds. Apitre lokya rajas, three lok you gave me. I'm still not willing to fight. So what pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? He says, Nihatya dhartrashtrana kapritisya janarda. What will we get out of it? Krishna is asking such questions. He's completely illusion right now, right? So actually taking away someone's life is definitely immoral, right? And killing a relative is more sinful, generally. So Arjun was completely in dilemma. He was thinking, what will he gain with this victory? What will he achieve with such a heinous crime that he will be committing, he thinks. And it would not give him any joy. And he would have lost all the people who mattered to him. And then what will he do with that kingdom, he says? Of course, detachment is definitely a commendable asset. So even though his thoughts, Arjuna's thought process, if we think and if we analyze that, it's very moral, right? According to us, and very virtuous. But they were not having spiritual sentiments. He was thinking materialistically, out of attachment. They were coming out of compassion, out of his affection, attachment towards his relatives. Spiritual sentiments will give you will be equipoised, you will be peaceful, you will be calm, you will be very soothing. But he was not having that soothing condition. He was totally overwhelmed. It was not, he was confused, he was disillusioned, he was losing control over his body and soul. He did not want to kill his relatives. And if there was any need to kill, he thinks, okay, Krishna, you do that job. I don't want to do it. At this point, actually, we know, but at this point in that Gita, Arjuna did not know that Krishna had already killed them before coming to the battlefield. Since you have done level 1, you know already, right? So, and he was just nimitta matra. In chapter 11, he says, nimitta matram, become my instrument, right? In 11th chapter, we remember that. So he will be only a nimitta matram for Krishna, but he doesn't know that. So that will be, of course, disclosed in following chapters. So why Arjuna is not ready to fight from 32 to 35, let's see. We'll revise this. So in 32 shloka, Govinda, Krishna is the object of all pleasures for cow and senses. And Arjuna indicates Krishna should understand what will satisfy his senses. Just imagine. But Govinda is not meant to satisfy our senses. Why will God satisfy our senses? If we try to satisfy Govinda's senses, our senses will automatically get satisfied. That is the proper way of thinking. And then he addresses him as Madhusudana because he's a killer of Madhu. And Arjuna is expecting that Krishna would kill his doubts, which are like demons only on his head, sitting in his brain. Also, Krishna killed a demon Madhu, but Krishna is expecting Arjuna to kill his relatives, not demons. So this is what we have understood. And the spiritual understanding, what we can see is, for Krishna, devotee is ready to accept any opulence Krishna wants and does not complain otherwise if Krishna does not desire. Whatever Krishna desires, a devotee will do. That is the spiritual way of understanding. We don't do for us, we do for the Lord. We dedicate everything to the Lord. So Arjuna is a devotee, is very kind-hearted, very, very compassionate. He wants to forgive his relatives, right? So Lord is tolerating all the mischief on himself, but he will not tolerate any mischief on his devotee. They did so much to trouble Pandavas. He will not tolerate that. So Lord is determined to punish them. Whatever you do with Krishna, he will still tolerate, but do with devotees, he will never ever forgive. So Krishna, here we can see, Lord will satisfy to the extent they deserve, not desire. So we have to understand, if Krishna is going to give us, he will give us what we deserve, not we want. I might want all the three worlds, but he won't give. He will give me what I deserve actually, right? So what do we living entities do? We all conditioned souls, what do we usually do? We want to satisfy our own senses. I want this, I want a car, I want a house. We are satisfying our senses all the time. But that is not we are supposed to do. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to work in Krishna consciousness. That's what we learn from here. So by Lord's will, if we are in Krishna consciousness, we do work for Krishna, then by Lord's will, all our desires will be satisfied, right? And now here we can see Arjuna's material calculation. What is he thinking actually? He is unable to share opulence with relatives. He's thinking, what is the point of winning this kingdom? I won't be able to share that happiness with my relatives. And then he decides not to fight, even in exchange of three worlds. That is the material way of thinking. Spiritual way of thinking will be different. Krishna will refute all his causes in chapter 2. Papamevashraye dasman hatva hatvaitana tatayinah tasman narha vayam hantum bhartarashtran sabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinasyama madhava. Thank you, Nikash Prabhuji. Is there any other person who wants to volunteer?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen?
Papa Meva Shreya Dasman. He's saying these are all vices. This will come upon us by killing them. But if we kill them, what will happen? All these papas will come on us. So he is addressing him, right? He's saying Madhava. Madhav means Lord, Goddess Lakshmi's husband. So he's saying, Madhava, it is not proper on our part to kill our relatives, our cousins, everybody. How can we ever be happy by doing such a deed? So, under such circumstances, most circumstances, you can say that killing someone's or taking somebody's life is definitely a big sin. And what will happen when you do such things? We're full of guilt, right? And then sometimes we say something harsh also, we start repenting. So it is true, that is there. So even the Vedas also say, right? They say what? Ma hinsyat. Hinsa means violence. Ma hinsyat sarva bhutani means do not kill any living being. That even Vedas is saying. Hinsa means violence. Sarva bhutani, all people. So don't kill anyone. So unless of course it is absolutely necessary in extreme conditions, because violence in any form, it's a sin. And of course, non-violence is a superior virtue. Even in Arjun's case also, enemies' wrong deeds have been there. You cannot pardon that. The way they have done, these aggressors, they cannot be pardoned. But still he was not willing to kill them. He's thinking it is immoral. According to even, if you say, it's written in Vashishta Smriti, 3 point, I can't remember the verse number, but it is written that under 6 circumstances, it is acceptable to kill. So what are those? In order to protect themselves from such enemies what have they done? They have set fire to the property. If somebody is setting fire to the property, they have every right to die and you have every right to kill. Second point, if they try to poison someone, they deserve to die. Number 3, if they have conspired to murder someone, deserve to die. If they loot your wealth, kidnap, dishonor the women, they have, or seize their kingdom also. All these you can see, they have done it for us. And even in Manu Smriti also it has been mentioned that it is not a sin. It is not considered a sin if someone kills an attacker in self-defense. Somebody is attacking you and you're just standing there. No, you have to defend yourself. And if you do that and you're in that process, somebody is killed, then it's fine. That's what in Manu Smriti also it's written. So let's see what it means now in short. So Arjun's fearful, sinful reaction. 6 kind of aggressors. Again, we are revising. So number 1 is poison giver, can be killed as punishment. One who sets fire to the house, he can be killed as punishment, no sinful reaction. One who attacks with deadly weapons, he can be killed as punishment, no sinful reaction. One who plunders riches can be killed as punishment, no sinful reaction. One who occupies another land and kidnaps another's wife, he can be killed as punishment and there will be no sinful reaction. So Kauravas had done all these 6 kinds of aggression on Pandavas. So killing them would not give any sinful reaction, right? So Arjuna is calling Krishna as Madhava, that Krishna should not engage Arjuna. That would ultimately bring misfortune. But Krishna, how can he bring misfortune to anyone? You imagine, and that to a devotee? No way. Yadyapyetena pashyanti lobhopahata chetasaha kulakshayakritam dosham mitradrohe cha patakam katham nagnyayam asmabhihi papadasman nivartitum kulakshayakritam dosham prapashyadhi janardana.
Translation. O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin?
So you can see, he's continuing. Arjuna hasn't stopped explaining. Since previous verse, he's continuing to try to give some kind of explanation. Why he's so unwilling to kill his relatives. He's giving his clarifications. Even though he's using again, even though, he's saying again and again, and he's addressing Krishna as what? Here, he is not Keshava, no Madhava. Now here he's saying Janardana, means maintainer of all this whole world, living entities. He says, I am aware that, they are willing to attack us. I know that. I know it would be a sin to kill my uncle or even, Dhritarashtra, his uncle, right? His uncle's sons. It will be really, really very sinful for me. He's giving explanation again and again. He was aware that, killing somebody's, even anyone, it is a sin. He knows that. So he's telling Krishna, greed has blinded them, Kauravas. They are very greedy. I know that. And they do not even realize that it is a great sin to kill their own relatives and friends. But why should we, after knowing we are following dharma, right? So they are adharmi, they are greedy, they want everything, they want to kill, they are not even feeling guilty about it. But we are so dharmic, we are following the righteous path. Then why should we also do the same thing, Krishna? Why can't we avoid this sin? Why can't we avoid this transgression? I mean, let's not do this whole thing. Let me just get away from this place. That's what he feels. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatana dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo bhavatyuta.
With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in ill religion.
Kulakshaye pranashyanti. The whole kula, the whole my family, everything will be destroyed. Kula dharma, the whole family tradition. Sanatana is eternal family traditions. Everything will be destroyed, Krishna. Dharme nashte, if dharma is going to be finished, kulam will be gone. Then what are we going to do? there will be complete irreligion Krishna. So normally in Varnashrama system or institution, there are many religious traditions we follow, right? We have our parents, our grandfathers or ancestors keep telling this is the tradition we need to follow. ये हमारे कुल में चलता है. That's how they tell us, right? So that's how we inculcate. Parents do, so we do. We do, our children do, and that's how we are teaching. That's the tradition that's going on. So that is that helps family members to grow and attain spiritual values. We learn from them. That's the family tradition. But if the eldest member in the family is responsible, right, for these purifying processes in the family, telling me, you have to do like this, you have to do like this, you have to follow every process properly from birth to death. So he is the eldest member is responsible. But if eldest member is dying, and on the death of the eldest member, what will happen? Such family traditions, what will happen to that? That purification system will stop. Nobody is there to tell them what is right, what is wrong. Nobody is there to teach the values. So the younger family members, they may, I'm not saying they will, but they may develop irreligious habits, right? And what will happen? They will lose their chance of going into the spiritual path. So therefore there is no purpose, right? That if eldest member is dead in the battlefield, what will happen to the younger members? So that is the question that is coming in Arjuna's mind. So let's see the summary of the 37 to 39. Arjuna sees the destruction of family. So Arjuna is saying that due to greed, the opposition party is ready to fight and they are ready to kill each other. But he says, what is the result of the war? I don't see any benefit. Everybody will be destroyed. There will be destruction in family tradition. Kshatriya should not refuse invitation of gambling and war. That is why Yudhishthira accepted also. Anyway, he was addicted also, he accepted also. And even war. So Arjuna sees the other party is blind of effect of this challenge because they are not able to see what kind of devastation is going to happen. But I know, right, he says. So he is not ready to fight. In verse 39, he says, if dynasty is going to get destroyed, family tradition will be destroyed, family will get into irreligion. And in Varnashrama system, what happens? Elder members in the family, they are responsible for the purifying process. If elder one will die, what will happen? Purification process stops. Younger members may become irreligious and then they will lose chance to go on to the spiritual path and they'll be complete adharma. So let's see the next one. Adharma bhibhavat Krishna pradishyanti kulastriyah srishu dushta suvarshneya jayate varna sankarah.
When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of the Varsini, comes unwanted progeny.
Vrishni is, Yadu dynasty, like from which Krishna is coming. So Krishna is from Vrishni dynasty. That is why he said descendant of Vrishni. Here, descendant of Vrishni means Krishna only. And progeny, unwanted progeny means what? Progeny means having kids, right? Children. So unwanted children, unwanted progeny. That is called Varna Shankara. Here, Strishu Dushtasu Varshneya Jayate Varna Shankara. Varna Shankara means unwanted progeny. Children coming out of wedlock or whatever. So if the elder members of the family, they have they follow these age-old traditions, customs, all these values, right? And they pass on to their younger generations. And these traditions, what does it do? Why do we have these traditions at home? You also must be having at home, right? So why do we have that? It nurtures moral values in us. That's why we teach our kids in families. And it will also build our religious values, everything. Even the society becomes stronger that way. But if elders are going to die early, the valuable knowledge that they have will go with them. And nobody is going to be there to guide us anymore. So what will the next generation learn? It will be swaying, whether to go this way or that way, they won't understand. So that is why Arjuna is having that feeling. that elders of the family should be spared. Let us not go into this war. It's not going to benefit anybody. Sankaro narakayaiva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro yesham lupta pindo dakakriyaha.
An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family traditions. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped.
So he's saying that Sankaro Narka, once this will happen, we have to go to Narak only, that hell. Nobody is going to even offer food to once they are all dead. Who will offer them? We do Shraddh, right? Every month, like, so every year also for people who have already dead. Who is going to do all that? Nobody knows what to do. And in olden times, women had a very, very high status also in Vedic society those days. Now, I don't know what has happened. And families were very religious. Societies were very moral. Everything was very nice, right? It was very important for women to be virtuous in those days. But according to Manu Smriti, what has happened? Societies where women were worshipped, because they were chaste, they were pure, and Arjuna was concerned about it. He was saying, what will happen to this society once these elder people will die? Who is going to guide them? Who is going to protect them? Women in the family will be misled now completely. So he's telling Shri Krishna that women in the family, they will become immoral. They may commit adultery. They will go have different relationships. They will bear Varna Shankara, means they will have unwanted progeny, illegitimate children. So this will destroy peace and happiness all over in the society. They will be chaotic. Everything will be chaotic, right? So nobody will be there to who will do this last rites of the people who have gone, who have died. We do every year. No Vedic rites will be done. Then what will happen to the family tradition? Everything will be abandoned. Who is going to take care of the welfare of the society? Everything will go haywire, Krishna, he says. Doshai raiteh kulagnanam varna sankara karakaihi utsadyante jati dharmaha kula dharmascha shashvataha.
By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kind of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated.
See, doshe rehte kulagnanam. So by such faults, what will happen? This whole kul, everything, it will be destroyed. There will be Varna Shankara. Varna Shankara means unwanted children. So what is going to happen? It's not going to help us, Krishna. So this breaking of this Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders will make the whole society become chaotic. So what will happen ultimately? People will forget. What are they doing here? What is the aim of life? Actually, the aim of life is to go into Krishna consciousness, but they won't have that because there is nobody to guide them. So such leaders, they're called blind, because people who follow leaders, such leaders, those who are not even following any values, so they will lead into chaotic society. So he is not very happy about it. Utsanna kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vasaha bhavati ityanu.
O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I've heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell.
So he's saying, Utsanna kula dharmanam, the spoilt kula of the family, manushyanam janar, their dharma is gone. They will go to Narak. What are we doing? What is the point of doing all this? I have heard all about this, Krishna, through disciplic succession. I have heard about it. So Arjuna is basing his argument. He's saying, I am not the one who's thinking like that or my personal experience, but I've heard from various authorities, Krishna. So he's saying that there is a system in Varnashrama institution. that by which before death, one has to undergo this process of what do you call that? Atonement for whatever sins he does, right? For whatever sinful activities he does, he has to atone that. But one who is always engaged in sinful activities, what atonement process he will do, right? But he has to use the atonement process, which is called praishtita. You have to praishtit, you have to do something if you have done something wrong. So without doing that, what will happen if you are not going to do that? There is nobody to guide you. You are doing everything wrong. You are doing all sinful activities. Definitely, you will be going to hellish planets, and you will undergo miserable life because of the results of sinful activities, says Arjuna to Krishna. So let's see what 40 to 43 says. Arjuna sees destruction of family and society. So Varnashrama system has been made. Why has it been made? For peace, prosperity, spiritual progress in life. But if it is destroyed, what will happen? The elder members of the family, they are responsible for purifying process, right? From birth to death. The elder person has died, so younger persons will become irreligious, right? They will lose their life to go into spiritual path. And when there is a lot of irreligion happening in the family, there are chances that, women may become polluted, because women and children both need protection. So if that is not there, it may happen that they become polluted and they have illegitimate children called Varna Shankara, right? So that will really be a problem, because it will cause hellish condition in the family. Family tradition will be destroyed. There will be nobody to give, tarpanam to ancestors also. So Arjuna says, I am not the one. I have heard from Dharma Shastra also. So those who destroy family tradition, they dwell in hell, he says. So that's what it means. You can see here in 1.39, superiors are killed. 1 point again, he says destruction of eternal family traditions gone. Vedic rituals will stop. And then irreligion will become predominant in the society. Women will become polluted, means they won't be pure. They will have illegitimate relationships, right? They will have unwanted children, illegitimate children, Varna Shankara, like we have in present society. It's already happening. All kinds of community projects and family welfare activities will be devastated, and the result will be there will be a lot of chaos in the society. You can, I think, relate to it. Present society is something similar happening. Aho batamahat papam kartum vyavasitam vayam yadrajya sukhalobhena hantum swajanamudyataha.
Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
Aho batamahat papam. Aho, alas, how strange it is. We are doing this kind of sin is going to happen. So he's surprised, Everybody knows if there is a war, what will it happen? End of war is what? Nothing good comes out of it. There's always something bad happening at the end of the war. So misfortune, what will, people will die. Families will lose their son, father, everybody will be dead. So they'll be committing so much of sin. That is why he says, aho, alas, what is happening? So he's thinking what kind of devastation he can already foresee the devastation according to him. And he says, if this war is going to take place, then I don't know what is going to happen. But the thing is, here, Arjuna is kind of ignoring the fact that if wrongdoers are not going to be punished, it will cause greater damage to the society. They will keep on doing the kind of sinful activities they have been doing. What good will happen if we leave them alive? So see, you can see both the points here. So driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to do sinful acts, like they may kill their own relatives, brother, father, mother. It happens, right? Many times in this society also we have heard. So we have heard in many places, even now it happens. But Arjuna's mindset was different. He was a saintly person. He was a devotee of the Lord. So he was very morally very conscious that way. So he wanted to avoid such activities. Yadi mama pratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dhartarashtrarane hanyuhu tanme kshemataram bhavet.
Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
It's a custom actually that according to Kshatriya fighting, that the law or the rule you can say that any unarmed person, if he's not having any weapon, you cannot attack him. So, or if any enemy says, I don't want to fight, you cannot attack him. These are the laws, these are the principles. But here you can see from what he has said, Arjuna has said, he has decided that if attacked by the enemy, even in this awkward position, while I'm not holding any weapon, even if they attack me, I'm still not going to fight, even for my self-defense. So he did not consider how much the other person is bent upon fighting. The other party is bent upon fighting, but is not considering that. So because he's a very compassionate devotee. So he is not thinking in from their point of view. So sometimes, we keep blaming the situation, we keep blaming the circumstances, right? And we turn a blind eye towards our own weaknesses. So Arjuna's, he's trying to justify for not killing his greedy cousins, his relatives. But actually we all know, right? He's driven by compassion, not only compassion, but attachment also towards them. So even though he felt it was a sin to kill them as they were his relatives, but he did not realize that these sentiments, what he was having was little materialistic. It was not in a spiritual point of view. And he also should have realized that those people were not pious people. If he leaves them, they will commit more sin. But he was so blinded by compassion, he had forgotten his dharma as a kshatriya, as a warrior, that he was beyond this material body. His illusion, his delusion had come to such a point where he was just willing to drop his weapon, and he said, okay, I'm ready to be killed by my enemy also. Sanjaya uvacha eva muktva arjuna sankhe rathopastha upavishat visrajya sasharam chapam shoka samvigna manasah.
Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief.
Eva Muktvar Sankhya Rathopasta Upavishat. He just put on in the Rath chariot. Upavishat means sat. Visrajya Sasharam Chapam. He left his bow and he was in shok. He's completely sad, very overcome with grief now. So Arjun was reluctant to fight, right? And he has reached the climax now. And he kept on explaining to Krishna, Krishna is quietly listening. So like such a great teacher Krishna is. He didn't say a word. Let him say, let him tell whatever he's feeling, let him tell. And he has surrendered completely now. And he's so much in grief now. He's sitting in the chariot. He said, I can't do it. I can't kill my own relatives. But it was not expected from him because he was a warrior. But he was so overwhelmed, right? So, but you know what? Before the battle, when both the parties were kind of organizing their armies and mobilizing them, right? So there was a choice given, right? Whether you want a Yadu army or you wanted Krishna on one side. Arjuna chose Krishna because he had complete faith in him, right? At this point of time, you must consider what Arjuna really was. He was definitely not a novice. He was not a newcomer, right? He had that spiritual knowledge. He didn't go for army. He went for Krishna. So he was very intelligent warrior also. Not only brave, very intelligent. His father was who? Celestial father was Indra also. He got so many weapons from him and so many boons. But why in battlefield of Kurukshetra, such a brave warrior, we are analyzing, such a brave warrior is dropping his weapon? What is the cause? It is for future generations. This is an act, part of the play. Lord Krishna wanted to bring about this Bhagavad Gita. So he is intentionally confusing Arjuna. Lord can do anything, he has created this opportunity now. So in this chapter, Arjuna is putting forth so many arguments, and he is trying to justify also, right? Whatever he's saying, why he should not fight with his enemy, he's trying to justify that. But of course, in coming chapters, Krishna will definitely he will refute his arguments. He will give answer to each and every question that Arjuna is putting forth. So let's see what is there from 44 to 46. He is fearful for sinful reaction. So in 44, Arjuna's fear of sinful reaction is that he will be killing the relatives, right? He says in 45, better to die in the battlefield unarmed. I don't want to even fight. Let them kill me, even if I'm not holding the weapon. Actually, that's not the law. Kshatriya cannot kill somebody who's not unarmed. Arjuna's soft-heartedness because he's a devotee. Arjuna was completely overwhelmed with grief. So he just put aside his bow and arrow and he sat down in the chariot. So let's see the saintly qualities of Arjuna. He was very soft-hearted, 1.28, and he does not want to kill even for exchange of 3 worlds. He's ready to forgive these aggressors. There are 6 kinds, you cannot forgive them, but he's ready to do that. He thinks that, considers evil consequences, even at the risk of refusing obligation to fight. He doesn't want to. And he says, who will protect the family traditions and morals? He's not thinking, he's thinking in a saintly way. Then he's ready to be killed unarmed, but he doesn't want to retaliate. Then he says he's unarmed and unwilling. He's not to be attacked. That's what Kshatriya should do. If somebody is unarmed, you should not attack. But for Arjuna, he is very, very soft-hearted right now. And he is keeping his bow down. Once he had picked up his bow, he had taken a promise. Once he picks up the bow, he's not going to put down till he defeats the enemy. But first day itself, he has put down the bow. So what is the conclusion? Such a kind and soft-hearted person is fit to receive self-knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. That's the last one. So let's see the summary. What are his reasons for not wanting to fight? He has compassion towards them. Then he thinks, what will I enjoy? What will I? Nakangshe Vijayam Krishna Nacharajyam Sukhanicha. What will I do? I won't even enjoy the kingdom even if I kill them. At the cost of what? Killing them? I cannot enjoy the kingdom. Destruction of the family. So if these soldiers warriors will die over here, what will happen to the family? Unwanted progeny, unwanted children. Then saintliness and fear of sinful reaction. He thinks enjoying royal happiness is not worth this sinful reaction. After killing this family and all, what's the point? It's very sinful. And he is really he's having indecision. That means he is not having to take the decision because he doesn't know what is better. Should I conquer the enemy or let them conquer me? That's what he thinks. So this is the summary. Again, the 5 points have been given about compassion, enjoyment, destruction of the family, saintliness, and indecision. So as opposing armies stood for the battle, he saw his relatives ready to fight and sacrifice their lives. He is overcome by grief and he has a lot of compassion for them. He suddenly lost all his strength and his mind started reeling and he gave up his determination to fight. That's the end of chapter 1. Panchakalpatarupascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha pattanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.